The first time I walked into the back workroom at Fisher's Soap Shop on Pond Road in Ronks, Lancaster County, in the middle of August, I expected rows of bright bottles and fake lemon perfume. I expected plastic. I expected branding. I expected the chemical sweetness you can smell 3 aisles away in any grocery store. What I found instead took something from me. The room sat cool against the heat outside. The air held rendered fat, wet wood and clean cotton. A fan clicked in one corner. A kettle gave off a low breath. Sunlight came through the window in flat bands and lit dust over a scarred work table. I stood there for 11 minutes, looking for the bottle. It wasn't there. And that's when I understood I'd been wrong about everything. What changed me was not what I saw first. It was what I did not see. No colored liquid, no squeeze cap, no printed promise, no long label pretending to explain why grease obeys a brand name. I watched a spoon lift a brown, glossy paste from a crock. I watched hot water hit it. I watched that paste disappear into the sink without fanfare. Then I watched a greasy skillet lose a film that store-bought liquid had trained you to think required neon foam. The foam barely mattered. The grease broke. The water carried it away. The pan went from sticky to clean in less time than it takes you to argue with yourself in the dish aisle. I did not feel clever. I felt embarrassed because the bottle had been the story. The chemistry had always lived somewhere else. You know that feeling when a simple thing rearranges a whole shelf in your head. That was the feeling. I had walked in assuming the expensive part did the work. I walked out knowing the expensive part was the packaging, the freight, the shelf space, the ad budget, and the habit. The work came from an older chain, fat, alkali, heat, time, attention. That was it. Not glamour, not branding, not a mascot smiling at you from a cap, just molecules doing what molecules have done for thousands of years. I could smell it before I could explain it. I could hear it in the quiet of that room. No jingle, no sales pitch, just a kettle, a spoon, and the small friction of a rag against enamel. You spend enough time around real systems and you start to notice something. The louder the packaging, the less likely the package deserves the credit. I went back. Then I went back again. I came in October when the air turned sharp and the fields browned. I came in February when your lungs sting on the way from the truck to the door. I came after spring mud. I came in late July when the flies hit the screens and the light stays hard until evening. Every visit gave me the same lesson in a different form. A shelf of Crocs, a bar wrapped in paper, a sink without clutter, a conversation that never needed to sound revolutionary because the practice never broke. You can feel that kind of confidence in a room. It has no theater, it has no insecurity, it does not need to impress you, it only needs to work. And once you see that, the modern aisle starts to look strangely theatrical, too shiny, too explained, too eager. One afternoon, with the outside temperature sitting near 89 degrees, I asked why nobody seemed interested in turning this into a brand empire. I got the kind of answer that stays with you because of how little decoration it carries. If the ash is yours and the grease is yours, I heard, why would the soap belong to somebody else? That line sat in me like a stone. Because you can apply it to more than dishes. You can apply it to heat, water, food, paint, light. The whole architecture of dependence works the same way. First, you forget the base materials. Then you forget the process. Then you forget the skill. Then a company walks in and sells your own memory back to you one bottle at a time. Nobody told you. Not your grocer, not your store brand, not the man who stocked the aisle. I've been going back to Lancaster County every autumn for 3 years, and every time I find something the cleaning industry forgot on purpose. Not because it failed, because recurring purchases pay better than memory. That is the part you feel in your wallet before you ever name it. It is also the part you can reverse faster than you think. Because once you see what cuts grease, once you see what actually changes the water, once you see how little of the bottle is the bottle's real contribution, You stop shopping the same way. You stop listening the same way. You stop assuming the price tag measures the chemistry. It doesn't. Here is the promise. You can replace one of the most repeated purchases in your kitchen with a method built from waste you already throw away. And one small batch can cover 6 months of sink loads. The impossible number is this: regular hand dish liquids in a Dutch National Institute for Public Health and the Environment Composition Table, archived by the National Center for Biotechnology Information, run 45 to 80% water. And yes, this works even if you've never done this before. Stay with me. Because what I found in Lancaster County uses the same physics the Egyptians used to turn alkali and oil into soap 3,500 years ago. If you want the science, it starts with a split personality. The University of Massachusetts Amherst explains surfactants as molecules with a water-loving head and an oil-loving tail. That sounds abstract until you put your hands in a greasy sink. Then it becomes obvious. One end grabs the grease, one end stays friendly with water. Enough of those molecules gather, and you get micelles, little clusters that wrap oil the way a crowd closes around a fight. The grease stops clinging to the plate. Water can carry it off. That is the real trick. Now add a second fact. North Dakota State University warns that hard water carries calcium and magnesium ions that turn ordinary soap into curds and scum. So if your water is hard, the chemistry does not fail. Your minerals get in the way. That is why old farm kitchens paid attention to ash source, water source, and rinse water. They were not being quaint. They were doing field chemistry with their senses. The Amish didn't read this in a textbook. They figured it out the way all real knowledge gets discovered, by paying attention to what the material was already doing. Here is the number you can use. The National Center for Biotechnology Information Archive shows regular hand dish liquids at 10 to 20% surfactants and 45 to 80% water. In plain English, you often buy a bottle that ships more water than cleaning power. The equivalent metric here is active matter yield. A dense, soft soap paste gives you close to 1 unit of cleaning solids for every 1 unit you scoop into hot water. A regular bottled liquid often gives you 0.1 to 0.2 units per 1 unit poured. Think of it like broth versus stock. One looks abundant, one actually carries the work. That gap represents a massive market in products, packaging, shipping, and shelf contracts every year. And that is why you have never heard of this. When I stood in a summer kitchen outside Mount Hope in Holmes County, Ohio, the first thing I noticed was the absence of noise. No dishwasher motor, no vent fan, no plastic cap clicking open. I remember the room sitting near 63 degrees while the yard outside felt warm and dusty. I heard a wall clock. I heard a spoon hit crockery. I heard boots on worn boards. I did not hear machinery. I heard Reuben tell me, we save the ash, we save the grease, and we buy one less thing. That sentence carried 4 generations in it. I asked where that habit came from. I got an answer rooted in migration, not trend. Palatinate families, Barron families, Alsace families brought the ash hopper habit, the fat kettle, and the soap crock with them. They brought it because it saved money and reduced waste. They kept it because it worked in every season. That knowledge never disappeared. It was filed away. It was waiting. You can hear the paper trail yourself in the February 1909 issue of the Pennsylvania German, which called homemade soap as common as her daily routine in the kitchen, and described the ash hopper, the grease kettle, and the cut bars almost line by line. Take this farther back and the pattern sharpens. In ancient Egypt, you can find alkaline salts from natron country, meeting oils for washing and cleansing long before modern branding existed. In Roman cities, you can walk the ruins of fulling shops and see cleaning built around alkalis, oils, labor, and hot water instead of packaged mystique. Move forward again into medieval German lands, and you find ash hoppers, iron kettles, rendered fat, and soap set aside to cure. Different roads, same answer. Nobody needed a television commercial to discover this. Grease always meets water badly. Alkali always changes that relationship. Heat always speeds it. Attention always improves it. Every civilization that mastered filth, grease, and scarcity arrived at the same answer independently. The Amish never forgot. They carried it from the Palatinate and Canton Burn to Pennsylvania and Ohio more than 200 years ago and kept building it because it worked and because they never needed anyone's permission to do what made sense. Now, I want you to look at one decision. In mid-1945, you can watch Procter & Gamble scrap its normal rollout schedule and rush David Byerly's Project X to market as Tide. The American Chemical Society's landmark history of Tide lays that moment out clearly. You are looking at a company protecting a repeat purchase future. One kitchen that cleaned with ash, fat, and water threatened hundreds of bottle purchases over a lifetime. Scale that across millions of homes, and you do not get a quirky homestead option. You get a business problem worth millions, then billions. You can also see exactly how the replacement happened. The same American Chemical Society record preserves the 1946 marketing line that sold the turn. Tide came in as a wash day miracle that promised to wash cleaner than soap. Then you can follow the next move. Procter & Gamble struck agreements with washing machine manufacturers to pack Tide boxes into new machines. Read that slowly. Cleaner than soap. Not cleaner than weak soap. Not cleaner than badly made soap. Cleaner than soap. One sentence, one demotion. Old soft soap did not fail a test. Old soft soap got shoved into the past by copywriting. Follow the allies and the picture gets uglier. You can trace advertising money into radio and television, where the very term soap opera grew out of detergent sponsorship. You can trace convenience partnerships into appliance makers who loved a branded product riding inside every new machine. You can trace post-war housing policy into appliance-centered kitchens and utility-fed domestic life. The money moved in a circle you could map with a ruler. Brands sold refill cycles. Media sold attention. Appliance makers sold convenience. Federal policy normalized the environment that made both feel inevitable. An entire field of knowledge disappeared from home economics curricula and family practice. Not because it failed, because it wasn't profitable. That sentence matters, because once a skill leaves the kitchen, it leaves the body, then it leaves the family, then it leaves the imagination, and after that, the store does not need to beat the method. The store only needs to outlast your memory. The modern continuation is softer in tone and harder in structure. Open Secrets reports that the American Cleaning Institute spent $334,000 lobbying in 2023, and 6 of its 10 lobbyists previously held government jobs. In the same period, the American Cleaning Institute pushed a federal ingredient labeling framework and described the U.S. cleaning product supply chain as a $60 billion industry. I want you to hear the language and the motive separately. The language is transparency. The motive is scale. Nationwide compliance favors nationwide brands, nationwide packaging, and nationwide shelf control. Small memory loses, large distribution wins, and the dollar figure is not small. The American Cleaning Institute's own economic analysis says the cleaning products industry supports $192.0 billion in total output in the United States. Every alternative bottle you never buy is a repeat sale that never happens. Now, if you already own a house and you're thinking this only applies to people starting fresh, stay with me, because this next part is specifically for you. You don't need to buy equipment, you need a bottle and a weekend. Start with what your kitchen already gives you. Save 6 cups of strained bacon fat, beef tallow, or cooking grease, and keep it cold until you have about 2 pounds. Then collect 8 quarts of clean hardwood ash, oak, maple, hickory, or beech work best. Put a 3-inch layer of pea gravel in the bottom of a 5-gallon HDPE bucket. Lay muslin cotton over that gravel. Add the ash on top. Set the bucket over a second bucket and slowly pour 2 gallons of near-boiling water through the ash. Do it in 3 passes. Let gravity work. You want about 1.5 quarts of brown lye liquor at the end, and you want that liquor testing between pH 12 and pH 13 on a strip. Move to a 12-quart stainless steel pot. Put in the 1.5 quarts of lye liquor and the 2 pounds of rendered fat. Bring the mix to 190 to 205 degrees Fahrenheit and hold it there for 75 to 90 minutes. Stir every 5 minutes with a stainless spoon or a maple stick. When the mix turns glossy and drags in ribbons off the spoon, you are there. If your water runs hard, add 1 tablespoon of sodium carbonate, sold as washing soda, to the sink later, not to the kettle. That is how you beat the calcium and magnesium North Dakota State University warns about. Hardwood ash is not optional. Charcoal briquettes cause weak lye and greasy dishes. Use stainless steel, glass, wood, or HDPE only. Skip aluminum. Pour the finished paste into 2 32-ounce glass jars or 2 wide-mouth HDPE bottles. Let it rest 24 hours. For daily washing, dissolve 2 tablespoons of paste into 1 quart of 120-degree water. Then add 1 to 2 tablespoons of that concentrate to a sink holding 2 gallons of hot wash water. If you want more, cut on a cast iron skillet, use 3 tablespoons. If you want a squeeze bottle, thin 1 cup of paste into 3 cups of hot water and shake hard. The ingredient cost stays close to zero if the ash and fat are yours already. If you need backup items, pH strips run $7 to $14, muslin runs $4 to $9, and a thrifted stainless pot usually lands between $12 and $24. Your first batch takes 1 Saturday morning. After that, the whole rhythm takes about 40 minutes of active work every 6 months. On a 95-degree August day, this mix will strip sausage grease off a cast iron skillet, 8 dinner plates, and a cutting board in 1 sink. It requires attention once every 6 months. Your conventional dish liquid costs $3 to $7 a bottle, $12 to $26 per month to keep replacing, and lasts 1 to 3 weeks before the plastic ends up in a landfill. This costs $0 to $38 total. It lasts 6 months. Your choice. Everything I've covered across this channel, root cellar airflow math, off-grid rainwater storage systems, lime wash mold control science, I've put it all in one place. Step by step, season by season, room by room, in the order the families actually use it. Link is in the description, but stay here. Because what Ruben kept in that summer kitchen is the part nobody is talking about yet. If you're the kind of person who believes that real knowledge has been quietly pushed aside to protect someone else's profit, you already know what to do. Hit subscribe, not for me, for what comes next. Because this is not a channel. This is a quiet movement of people who have decided they're done being sold what they already own. I want to hear from you. Drop your state, your monthly cleaning bill, or the old soap habit your grandparents used in the comments. I read every single one, and your answers decide what we cover next. Next week, I'm going to show you what a 1946 Penn State document reveals about old lime wash and why it still beats modern mold paint in damp rooms. The technique uses nothing but type S hydrated lime, salt, and casein. And the paper trail that proves institutions knew exactly how well it worked long before selling you the plastic bucket version. You're not going to want to miss that one.